Hey everybody, Rosemother here, and welcome to part 64 of my Umineko Let's Play. Last episode had Chick Beato trying to become the Beatrice that Badler, aka Father, wants her to be, and she ran into another version of herself, and the two of them together, I guess, are going to work together to try and become that Beato. A lot of stuff going on about like different parts of the personality and how your upbringing and your past will create the person that you become. So I'm sure there's like some really important stuff going on to like figure out the truth to everything. And we also had a little bit of an insight into George that kind of squicked me out again a bit, and like really kind of went into his psychology and his past. His attempts at, raising himself above it, not just being a stereotypical nice guy, although still don't agree with, of all people, like, why Shannon? But I'm gonna leave it there. I said my piece in the last episode. So we're gonna continue on and see what happens next. I wonder when these murders are gonna start happening. I'm gonna say this at the beginning of every episode. I'm interested to find out, and always excited to hopefully get some more Erica banter as well. So let's get into it. Let's see what happens next.
Shannon です。戻りました。
うん。今日の日誌はまだだな。
はい、すぐに提出します。カノン君、留守番をありがとう。
長い休み時間だったね。
Cannon had already noticed. There was a silvery glint coming from the ring finger on Shannon's left hand.
では、私は先に休む。何かあったら構わず起こすように。
おやすみなさいませ、源氏様。
Genji disappeared off to the waiting room. After that, only Shannon and Cannon remained.
時間をくれてありがとう。あとは私が控えてるから、カノン君ももう休んでもいいよ。
Because he's got to confess his... Well, here, I guess he already confessed his love to Jessica. Never mind. He actually... So, who's gonna win this?
今度は僕の手番ってこと。
Is he gonna like propose to Jessica? Because like he already told her he loved her.
悪いけど、私たちは負けないよ。
僕だって負けるものか。
今日まで臆病でお嬢様にリードしてもらわなければ何もできなかった君が。
Damn, I just love... She's so vicious sometimes.
姉さんが教えてくれたはずだよ。
何を教えたかな。
恋に昔も過去も関係ない。今だけが重要なんだって。もしそれが本当なら、僕の今は姉さんの今に何も負けてるなんて思わない。
Shannon and Cannon glared at each other with serious eyes. That period of tension vanished when Shannon chuckled.
それでいいよ。君とお嬢様も頑張って。もしも結ばれるなら、私たちが心の底から祝福できるくらいに素敵な関係になって。
姉さんにかなりのリードを許してるけどね。
仕方ないよ。それが君のこれまでの臆病の対価なんだから。
分かってる。それが僕の罪だから。
Shannon and Cannon fished around in their pockets and drew out two small things that glittered gold. They looked like the left and right wings of a gold butterfly.
私たちは家具。人間になって愛を育む奇跡を得るには、もう一度魔法の奇跡を頼らなくてはならない。
あいつのブローチが役に立つなんて。
私たちの手元にある唯一の魔法。
It was the golden butterfly brooch, which Beatrice had once given to Shannon in the hopes of creating love between her and George. Shannon had given it to Cannon, but he had let his emotions get a hold of him and had crushed it into pieces. Oh my god, that was so long ago. So when the two wings they held were brought together, it would regain the form of a beautiful butterfly. Like all these things that are coming back from the earlier ones, like the brooch, totally forgot about that.
じゃあ行ってくる。僕もトランプに一応呼ばれてたからね。
うん、頑張ってね。お嬢様、きっと喜ぶと思う。
少し照れるな。
楽しんで、その感情を。
Cannon left the servant room. He went to see Jessica and tell her what he had determined to do. Shannon quietly watched him go. The fragment of the brooch and the engagement ring let off a gold and silver glint.
懐かしいぞ。あれは確かにわらわがシャノンに与えたもの。カノンが踏みつぶして以来、どこへ紛失したかと思っていたら、まだ持っていたのか。
黄金蝶のブローチですね。恋愛を助ける魔法のブローチとフェザリーヌさんの本で読みました。
And that had been the first moment that Beatrice, Witch of the Forest, had met with a human and given them her power. Bit by bit, she had ascended from a mere ghost to the ruler of the mansion at night, and by making the servants believe in her, she had wiped away the anti-magic power. And then it eventually became possible for her to appear openly in front of Shannon, whose magic resistance had grown particularly low, and who had begun to believe in the existence of Beatrice. To Beato, who had been unable to interact with anyone for many years, this conversation with Shannon must have been especially fun.
だから気前よく黄金蝶のブローチを与えてやったのだ。わらわは相当上機嫌であったのだな。わらわのごとき冷酷な魔女がそこまでサービスをするとは。
でも素敵です。あなたは未来の恋人たちの仲を取り持たれたのですから。
もちろん甘やかしたつもりはないぞ。わらわの魔力を抑えつけてきたあの肉々しい冷境を割ることと引き換えだ。そのおかげでわらわは一気に力を取り戻すことができたのだから。
しかしある夜、紫の雷が鎮守の社を打ち砕いたのです。島々の者たちは協調だとささやき合いました。おお、今思えばあれこそがベアトリーチェ様復活の印だったに違いありません。
Kumasawa had the rest of the night off, so she had let Erika talk her into drinking for a bit, and was chatting about the legend of Akujikijima and Beatrice in a happy, tipsy mood. Erika would nod from time to time, but she listened very closely. She wasn't actually taking notes, but she was gathering the information on the whiteboard inside her head. Then she frowned as though noticing something out of place and held up her hand.
ちょっとストップを。
はい。
その鎮守の社は悪食島の悪霊を封じるために旅の修験者が建立した。そうでしたね。
ええ、そうでございます。強い神通力をお持ちだったということで、その力を鏡に込め
霊境として社に奉納し、悪霊を封印した。少し違和感を覚えます。悪食島の悪霊を封印する社がどうしてベアトリーチェも封印するんです？
はあ、それはその霊境の神通力が。
なるほど。東洋の悪霊も西洋の魔女も OK の便利な霊境だったからというわけですか。わかりました。すっきりはしませんが、そこは折れることにしましょう。しかしどうしてベアトリーチェが蜘蛛の巣も嫌うのかわかりません。
According to the legend, the evil spirits of Akujikijima despised spiderwebs, so they were apparently used as wards against evil on the islands around here. Actually, spiders are a useful bug. The farmers of the islands may well have treasured them. It's very possible the farmers called them wards against evil, tying them to the stories about evil spirits. in order to create a tradition of people treating this useful bug with care through the generations.
しかしそれ悪事木島伝説の話です。そもそもベアトリーチェの魔女伝説の発祥はこの島に引っ越してきた後宮金蔵がミステリアスな黄金伝説とそれを授けた魔女という名の愛人を吹聴してから始まったものです。つまり悪事木島の悪霊と黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェは本来全く異なる存在のはずなんです。なのに設定が同じになっています。
さてはて。
Kumasawa was like, I'm just telling a story here. I wasn't expecting to be interrogated. The evil spirits of Akujikijima couldn't stand spider webs, so neither could Beatrice. That sort of reasoning had been applied all over the place. When it was pointed out that was strange, Kumasawa was lost for an answer.
金蔵さんの書斎のドアノブはサソリの魔法陣が描かれていて、それは西洋魔術では魔除けを意味する。だから西洋魔女のベアトリーチェはドアノブに触れられない。これは理解できるんです。でも雲の巣に限ってはベアトリーチェが嫌う理由がありません。私の知る限りでも西洋魔女の苦手なものに雲の巣があったという記憶はありません。
Maybe the actual woman Beatrice didn't like spiders? I don't know.
むしろ雲は魔女の仲間や眷属では？
はあ。
Kumasawa's like, I'm losing my buzz here. This isn't fun anymore.
思うに悪事木島伝説の悪霊と魔女伝説のベアトリーチェ、この2つの異なる伝説が少し混交しているように思います。いいえ、混交どころか融合かもしれません。悪事木島伝説は六軒島周辺の暗礁を恐れた漁民たちが生み出したおとぎ話。しかし悪事木島に住まう悪霊なる者には具体的なビジュアルイメージが伴っていませんでした。人なのか怪物なのか、はたまた足のない幽霊なのか、さっぱりイメージがありません。人はビジュアルを伴わない空想を苦手とします。そこにベアトリーチェという魔女の伝説が登場した。悪霊よりは魔女の方が想像しやすい存在です。しかもその上、金蔵さんはベアトリーチェの肖像画を描かせ掲示しました。つまり悪事木島伝説の一番の弱点、たたる悪霊のビジュアルイメージが初めて保管されたわけです。そこからいつの間にか2つの伝説が混じり合っていってしまったのではないでしょうか。
どうでございましょうね。この老いぼれには少し難しい話にございます。
Kumasawa laughed to smooth it over, wiping away a cold sweat. She might have seemed confused, but she did actually understand what Erika was saying. In truth, she did have a rough understanding of how the legend of Akujikijima, which had been around before Ushiriya Kinzo, had come to Rokenjima, and the legend of the Golden Witch, the story of the woman who had given Kinzo a vast quantity of gold, had changed over time. She didn't want to admit it, but she knew. Beatrice's backstory, that she hated the spirit mirror and spider webs, had actually been based on the ancient legend of I almost had it there. Akujikijima. The evil spirits part of that legend had just been replaced by the witch of the portrait.
もし黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェを自称する人物がいたとして、彼女が本当に蜘蛛の巣を嫌うのかどうか、ぜひ聞いてみたいものです。触れるとどうなるんでしたっけ？
魔女の眷属は蜘蛛の巣に触れるとやけどを負うそうですから、多分そうなるんじゃないかと。
They're putting a lot of time into this part about the whole thing about spider webs and mixing up the different superstitions and the stories. I wonder if this is important.
いいじゃないですか。それ見事な魔女裁判です。蜘蛛の巣に触れてやけどするならば。
それは悪霊の方であって魔女ではない。そして触れても何も起こらないのであればただの人間であることの証。つまりやけどしようがしなかろうが黄金の魔女など存在しないという証になります。魔女伝説なんて所詮悪食島伝説が装いを変えただけの焼き直しに過ぎないのです。
はあ。
ただ伝説がそこにあるだけでフルドエリカはこの程度の推理が可能です。いかがです皆様方。
Though only the two of them were in the lounge, Erica faced in the direction an invisible audience would have been if there was one, and shrugged. And to match Erica's imagination, the two of them actually were there, listening in.
クモの巣ですか？触れるとやけどを？
When Beato the Elder snapped her fingers, a graceful silver spider slipped down from the ceiling, hanging by a transparent thread. Afterwards, only a single silver strand remained. Timidly, Beato stretched her finger out towards the spider's string, and she touched it.
平気です。
平気なのか。
Beato the Elder lifted up a white, pale finger, and after showing it to her little sister, she traced the silver string with it. There was a stench like a single hair being burnt. Once again, she held her finger up in front of Beato, who was dumbfounded. So is Chick Beato, is she like the human representation, and this other one is like the witch representation? There was a thin burn line, as though someone had traced across it with a razor.
これはどういうことですか？
わらわが聞きたい。どうしてそなたは平気なのか。
わかりません。
So she's like the before part, and then whatever happened to her to make her the quote-unquote witch, this is what the elder one represents, I guess?
むしろ逆にどうしてお姉様がクモの巣に触れるとやけどをするのかわかりません。
わからぬ。わらわが自らの存在を意識した時からそういうことになっていた。
ではお姉様は
But then she would be a spirit, not a witch, right? Witches wouldn't get affected by spider webs. Beato hesitated. However, her question was clear.
違う。わらわは悪食島の悪霊などではない。わらわは六軒島の夜を支配する魔女ベアトリーチェである。どうしてこの島の太古の悪霊と同じ弱点を持つのかはわらわにもわからぬ。
苦手なのはクモの巣だけですか？
エリカとやらが言うように金蔵の書斎のドアノブもダメだ。あのサソリの魔法陣はわらわを焼く。わらわにとって金蔵の書斎の扉を開けようとするのは真っ赤に焼けた蹄鉄を家中に拾うも同じこと。そなたはどうか。
サソリの魔法陣ですか？
The older sister snapped her fingers again. When she did, the surrounding scene bent and twisted, and they had suddenly moved to the place in front of Kinzo's study. And there was the doorknob engraved with the scorpion magic circle.
魔術を研究するものならば人的にも霊的にも隔絶された隠れ家が必須となる。金蔵が自らの書斎を閉ざしこのような魔除けを施したとしても不思議はない。そしてそれは困ったことにわらわにもこうして効果がある。
She gently grasped the doorknob. As she did, a violent burning sound, unbelievably stronger than the one caused by the spider web, rang out.
お姉様大丈夫ですか？手は
Her hand had been horribly burnt, and Beato couldn't help but avert her eyes.
安心せよ。これしきすぐ治る。
Apparently, it would heal by itself if left alone. The older sister seemed to heal at an inhuman rate.
だがそなたはどうやら平気らしいな。
She timidly poked the doorknob. Nothing happened. Slowly, she touched it with her entire palm, but she felt nothing but a pleasantly cool sensation.
不思議だ。そなたはわらわの分身であるにもかかわらず、わらわとは様々なものが異なっている。
逆にドアノブに触れても平気ですが、お姉様のような火傷を負ったら私は簡単には治らないと思います。
まるで普通の人間のようであるな。
Right? Like a human, just a human playing dress up.
はい、私自身自分が魔女だとはちょっと信じきれていません。私にはお姉様のように魔法を使うこともできないし、不思議な火傷も、そしてすぐに傷を治すこともできません。お父様は私を偉大なる魔女の生まれ変わりだと信じてくださいましたが、私にはそれが信じられなくて。
そなたは何者なのか。
Isn't that the big question of the story?
私はベアトリーチェ。お父様のために生まれてきました。お姉様は？
わらわもまたベアトリーチェ。金蔵に魔法にて黄金を授け、その後も魂となって島に縛り付けられている体を失った魔女である。
私たちは一体何者なんでしょう。
わらわと違い、そなたは体を持つ存在のように見える。
え、そうなんですか？
あのエリカとやらの話を聞いて、わらわはふと思った。魔女であり魔法が使えるが体を持たぬわらわと、そして魔女であるが魔法は使えず肉の体を持つそなた。わらわたちはやがて一つになり、掛け合った部分を埋め合って本当のベアトリーチェとして完成されるのではないだろうか。
It did seem plausible. Both the Beatrices were missing something. If they were to become one, then surely they would be very close to the Beatrice that Bedler desired.
試してみるか。手を出せ。
The older sister slowly raised her palm and held it out before Beato. The large burn from a second ago really had started to heal already.
わらわたちは一つになれるかもしれぬ。わらわも知りたい。そなたと一つになることで未来のわらわを知りたい。
Beato also raised her hand slowly, and the two hands touched. Is it going to be that easy? Are they going to be able to just fuse? Yeah, I figured something's got to happen, you know, for like that to be a thing that they can do. They have to come to some sort of truth. They have to learn the truth to become the full Beatrice. Perhaps this meant that while they were fated to become one eventually, that time had not come.
わらわにとって雲の巣が苦手なのは当たり前なこと。しかしそなたはそれを知りもしなかった。同様にそなたは自分が生まれてきた理由をお父様のためだという。そのお父様というのはどうやら後ろ宮バトラのことらしい。わらわも年に数度しか訪れぬ稀な客人である彼のことは知っているが、その稀な客人の彼とそなたというわらわにどのような接点があるのか理解できぬ。わらわたちは互いをもっと知るべきに違いない。
そうですね。私たちは互いを知り合うことで本当に大切なことに至れる気がします。
その向こうにいるのが一なる未来のベアトリーチェ。いや、それこそがわらわたちのあるべき正しい姿に違いない。
With their hands still joined, the two Beatrices swore to fill in the parts the others lacked, and regain their single form. Bit by bit, Beato was walking down the path that led to the former Beatrice. The eerie sound of the wind and rain. Alright, we're back in this room again. Once again, I hazily regained consciousness on top of the bed. The finger that the witch had bitten off was still attached. I didn't say it was all an illusion, just that it was still attached. After all, the pain and the teeth marks, as though a witch had bitten it, were still there. And yet, the window, which I'd supposedly smashed, had been fixed as though it had never been broken in the first place. How can I escape this creepy room? Why am I locked up in this eerie room, all alone? I want to get out. I have to get out. Let me out of here. The door was sealed with a firm chain. I could open it a crack, but only enough to peek out into the corridor at best. It would probably be hard even to just get a fist through it. The windows wouldn't budge either. They were no better than barred prison windows. The bathroom didn't even have a window. The only thing that could get out through there was the water that flowed out if you turned on the tap. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't think of any way out of here. Shut in here like this, I was more or less than a prisoner. Unless someone came from outside to save me, I wouldn't be able to get out for all eternity. In that case, couldn't I just call for help? Yes, the tiny gap I could make out in the door had to exist so I could call for help. But could I make the words come out? I had tried to call out for help before, but for some reason, the words couldn't escape my mouth. I might have made some kind of mistake. I might have just lost my voice in my haste and confusion. I cracked the door open one more time. The warm light of the hallway flowed in, making the darkness of the room stand out all the more. Though I couldn't hear any voices, I did feel something peaceful. I was sure everyone was in a room at the other end of the hallway, chatting happily about something. If I could just call out, someone would surely come to save me. Holding back some indescribable fear, I tried yelling out once more. But the result was the same. It was like trying to yell underwater. All I did was get out of breath, unable to call out in the slightest. It's just... This episode really does jump back and forth between, like, regular, even romantic, sweet moments and, like, horror. Even though I could say as much as I wanted if I just grumbled to myself inside the room. Whenever I tried to make my voice reach outside, I choked and was unable to say anything. I understood. My body wasn't the only thing imprisoned in this eerie locked room. My voice was as well. Thinking that I could use some other kind of sound to call for help, I tried opening and closing the door violently, making the chain rattle. It did sound as though it was making a noisy clanking sound, but I'm sure it was no good. Even this sound was imprisoned within the locked room. No matter how harsh a sound I made, I was certain it would be quieter than a leaf falling by the time it reached the other end of the corridor. I tried using the hateful chain that sealed the door to make a sound to call for someone, but that only deepened my despair. This chain? That's insane. Even though just a second ago it was a stiff chain that looked like it was used to steal a monster away. At some point, it had transformed into a normal chain lock. Is this some sort of representation of locked room? All the locked room scenarios that we've had to deal with? This changed everything. Now I could just undo it from the inside. I tried to undo the chain, but I couldn't pull it off, the chain not being long enough for that while the door was still open a crack. Of course. Calm down. I want to know who is it in this room. My first assumption was Battler, but I'm like, it could be anyone. I swallowed and calmly closed the door. Then, when I saw the chain had slackened enough, I touched it with my finger to make sure. When I was little, I hated chains because I could never get them undone right. However, that was a long time ago. I could unfasten them normally now. Anyone could. It was easy. Clink. At that moment, that terrible thought that the demon who had locked me in this room might have been using this as a trap to give me hope, and then make me despair even more, finally stopped haunting me. The chain lock unfastened, and the chain dangled there right before my eyes. Now, there was no lock sealing this door. Please, don't torment me anymore. And just open normally. Slowly, the door opened. I had closed the door in order to undo the chain, so the warm light from the hallway had been cut off. What if I opened it again, and that warm light was gone this time? I was even afraid of that. However, that was just me over-imagining things, slowly expanding before my eyes. No, this is normal for a door. As the door let out an annoying creak, the exit from this cursed locked room finally opened. Okay, they're able to get out. I did it. The room has to represent something. The fact that the chain was undone, they were able to get out. What does this mean? Even my cry of joy was strangled, but that didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was that I could get out. I poked my head out and looked left and right down the corridor. The warm corridor. I could sense people having fun at the other end. Everyone's right there. Let's go, right now. Ooh. I was expecting something. That was too easy. That made me jump a little bit, not gonna lie. At that moment, something cold and heartless crushed my throat, once again giving them that hope and then taking it away. It was as though an iron loop had been fastened around my neck and pulled on hard from behind. No, not as though. Without my knowing, at some point, a thick metal collar had been fastened around my neck. When had this happened? And when I turned around, I despaired even more. From the inner side of the door I just opened, a thick chain extended, which was connected to my collar. I pulled on it, but it didn't even budge. When I shook it, the whole door creaked. What the hell? The chain that connected to my collar was attached to the inner side of the door. Yes, the same heartless chain that had secured the door a short while back had suddenly become a chain holding me in place. That's insane. That's insane. Damn it, what's going on here? I pulled with all my strength, trying to tear the whole door off, but I already knew from repeated experiments that it wouldn't even budge. I was sure this chain would disappear once I went back inside the room, but it would never let me leave it. Though it appeared to revert to being a normal chain lock, nothing had actually changed. The fact that a chain lock bound me to that room was just as true now as ever. Tears flowing down my face, I pulled with all I had. It was completely useless. No matter what I did, I'd never tear it loose. And I wasn't even permitted to call out for help. I felt a confused anger at how the demon had mercilessly made me think for just an instant that I'd escaped. But no matter how much I yelled, no voice came out, and no one on the other end of the corridor could hear me. Then I noticed an odd stain on the wall of the corridor. It wasn't a stain. They were letters traced out by a finger that had been covered in red paint. What? Those letters, which looked like they had been drawn in blood, answered my biggest question. What's it say? The chain lock must be set. You may unset it, but it must then be reset. Unless it is set, this exit of yours will be unusable. I instantly understood the meaning of that unsettling message. Then I tried it out and understood completely. When I return to the room and reset the chain lock, the binding around my neck disappears. When I undo the chain lock, that heavy feeling around my neck returns. In other words, I cannot escape this room while the chain lock is still unset. But that means all I need to do is set the chain while outside the room. Just get Erica in here. She'll be able to figure out this riddle instantly. I undid the chain one more time. The weighty collar and chain appeared around my neck again. I stepped out into the corridor and closed the door behind me, leaving only the slightest of cracks. I stuck my hand through the crack, grabbed the dangling chain, and tried to reset it somehow. Damn it. It's so easy to do from the inside, so why is it so hard to do from the outside? The gap needed to be wide if I wanted to manipulate the chain well. However, that made the chain too short to reach. To bring the chain even close to reaching, I had to close the door as much as possible. But doing that meant there wouldn't be enough of a gap to fit my hand Of course, that was perfectly natural. Chain locks are meant to be done from the inside. They'd be completely pointless if you could set and unset them from the outside. That's why the length of the chain is specially chosen, to prevent anyone from setting or unsetting it from the outside. This also feels like a big clue to something, like all of the locked rooms, mysteries we've had throughout this game. Right? There's got to be a reason for this. This has to represent something. Maybe I could manage it with some kind of hard and thin tool? If the gap of the door was just a finger's width across, the chain would have enough length to reach. If I could just bend a wire hanger so it fits through the crack, and work the chain with that. That's right, there's a closet just to the side of the door. Could there be some hangers in there? Found one. Oh, thank God. A single cheap-looking hanger, like one you might find in a laundry room, was hanging there. This is a trap. Whoever set this room up definitely put that there to give them some hope that they could use it to get out. Really? I'm pretty sure that when I last looked a short while ago, nothing like this was in the closet. Who cares? Quickly, quickly. I twisted the wire hanger, bending the end with the tip around. I formed a loop at the end to grab at things with, making for a sort of burglar's tool. I then dashed out to the corridor again and closed the door almost as far as it would go. My wrist could never pass through this, but with the door closed this far, the chain should have extra length to spare. And this crack is large enough for me to stick the hanger through. Now, it's just a matter of technique. I'll definitely be able to do it if I try enough times. I'm certain of it. It's harder than it looks, but the chain is long enough. It isn't impossible. I'd finally got my hands on the one way to escape. It was hard, yes, but it was theoretically possible. If it was possible, then I'd be able to get out. I would be able to escape from here. Is this a hint about how the chain, the locked rooms might have been done? Maybe, maybe. At that moment, I felt a heavy weight on the far side of the door. It felt as though someone inside the room had leaned against the door with her forehead, and she, the witch, had laughed. Then, I felt a powerful and strange force on the wire hanger. Is she trying to grab it away from me? Yeah, right. Like hell I'll let go. Like hell I'll let my one key out of here get stolen while my guard's down. Fortunately, I'd stuck my wrist through it so I wouldn't drop it if my hand got tired. You won't be able to snatch this out of my hands. She's like, what if I bite your whole hand off like I did your finger? That's really creepy. The witch on the other side of the door watched me and laughed once more. Then I noticed something weird. I looked at my left hand, which I had pressed against the door to hold it in place, and between the fingers of that hand, I could see something red. It was red text. I realized immediately. At some point in time, even more bloody letters had been written on the door, and my left hand had been covering them up. Still fighting against the vice-like strength of the witch beyond the door, I moved my left hand to read it. Where that hand had been, bloody letters had indeed been written. It read, as though someone had predicted I'd struggle this way from the very beginning. A message directly from the witch to me. No matter the method, it is impossible to set or unset the chain lock from the outside. All tricks done from the corridor had been sealed by the red letters. No way. There was a yeah, that's not like a Beatrice laugh. That's a completely different laugh. There was suddenly a terrible sound, and the force that had been pulling on the hanger was suddenly released. And when I looked at the hanger that was finally free, I lost all hope. As though it had been hit by the acid of the room's darkness, the tip of the hanger had burnt and bubbled and melted away. Now it was pitifully short. It couldn't be used for anything. It would be useless to search for a substitute. All schemes to fasten the chain from the outside had been sealed. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. I threw the remnants of the wire hanger against the floor, faced the hallway filled with a warm light, and called for help. However, I just choked, unable to speak at all. Everyone's just down the corridor, and everything's peaceful there. I can't hear their voices, but I know. I'm sure they're all having a good time playing cards. Please, someone notice me. Someone save me. Maybe. This almost sounds like, even though she says it's the witch, this sounds like Beatrice herself, where she's like, someone notice me, someone save me. The Beatrice that was maybe like trapped in Kuadorian who couldn't interact with anybody except Kinzo. Maybe. I was thinking it was Balor the whole time, but it could be Beatrice. Oh, that's Balor. This time, it wasn't the witch's voice. It was the happy voices of everyone else, which I could hear from the other end of the hallway. Someone, come over here and save me. I really like the moments with the with that room. They were very creepy.
悪いね。これで上がりだ。
George slammed his last card down, ending the game with his victory once again. Everyone gasped in unison. The cousins' room was filled with laughter as they enjoyed their card game away from Erica.
うわー、やっぱりジョージの兄貴が持ってたか。憎い。スペードの6が憎い。
バートラのダイヤの8もエグかったぜ。ああ、もう悔しい。
And this is the last nice moment I feel like we're gonna have for a while. Although, maybe Badler, like I said, he seems to be kind of almost delaying the inevitable bad stuff to happen. He wants to focus on the good.
ジョージお兄ちゃんすごい、また勝った。
そうだよ。また僕たちの勝ちだね。
Maria couldn't really hold her own in an all-out battle, so she had teamed up with George, which was why she was celebrating his victory.
乾杯です。
Cannon winced and let his cards drop to the table. The game of sevens that Cannon and the cousins had been playing had been a fierce battle. Normally, they would take things easy since Mario was there, so this sort of game was rare. Cannon had started taking the game seriously, unwilling to lose. So George and Badler had responded, and the battle had grown fierce. Unlike Badler, who was carefree enough to enjoy it whether he won or lost, Cannon's mood changed drastically with every victory or defeat. Me, that's me, playing games. I get way too into it. I get real upset when I lose. It was less of a dislike for losing, and more than he was just not used to playing games. He wasn't used to the idea that you win some, you lose some. So even a loss in a game played for fun was something he took very seriously. Since he had resolved to win, and had unfortunately challenged the veteran players George and Badler, the result was plain to see. As Cannon slumped his shoulders, Jessica slapped him on the back.
惜しかった惜しかった。でも楽しいぜ。
Maybe it's because he knows that he's kind of in that battle with Shannon to see who's gonna win the love, right? So maybe he's just saying, I'm always like, if I lose this, maybe I won't win my love of, Jessica or whatever.
本気で戦うのはね。
本気だろうとそうでなかろうと、結果が負けでは何の意味も。
とんでもない。本気で戦った結果の負けならすがすがしいもんだぜ。
Oh, Jessica, that's a very positive way to think about it. I agree with Cannon. Like, if I try my best and fail, it feels worse.
いい加減に戦っての負けじゃ、本気出してたら勝ってたうんぬんで未練タラタラでしょ。
そうだな。全力を尽くしたやつは言い訳しない。そして結果に関わらず爽やかなもんさ。そうだね。そしてそういう人間が一番怖いのさ。そこから必ず何かを学び成長するからね。
確かに僕は臆病だから何も学ばなかった。だから未だに未熟なんだ。
They're like, dude, it's just cards, relax. I am furniture, so it's useless to dream. Because he had rigidly believed that, he had distanced himself from everything and shut himself away. However, during that time, Shannon had undergone many life adventures, and now her hand rested on the door separating furniture and humans. He's got to play catch-up. The old canon would only have seen this card game as a way to pass the time. However, the new canon was now capable of gaining something new from this experience. That could probably be called growth. Furniture does nothing but rot with the passage of time. Being able to grow is a privilege given only to humans.
一緒に遊んでくれてありがとう。西とか書いたり忙しかったんだろ。付き合ってくれて本当にサンキューだぜ。
いいえ。
This is when he's gonna, well, I mean, he's already admitted his feelings for her, but I wonder if he's gonna be like, marry me.
僕も楽しかったです。いえ、これが楽しいことなんだって理解できました。僕を無理に誘ってくれてありがとうございます。
I love it. Thank you very much for forcing me to come. Not gonna lie, I feel like I've said that to friends sometimes when they drag me out, and then I end up having a good time, and I'm just like, okay, I'm glad I ended up doing it.
私たちはさ、もっともっといろいろなことに挑戦していこう。そして君が知らなかったものを探しに行こう。それでさっきの話だけどさ、ギターとか興味ない？いや別に無理にとは言わないけど、その
きっと難しいでしょうね。
まあね。
I forgot that she's like a musician. That was only basically brought up like once in what, chapter 2? Like a long time ago.
でもさ、そこは丁寧に教えるし、練習は私も付き合うから。まあ、言うほど私も上手くないんだけどね。
At first, Kenan was scared of touching a musical instrument for the first time in his life, certain he would make a complete fool of himself. He knew that screwing up like that would make him feel bad. However, Kenan was starting to learn.
初めてで下手なのは当たり前です。それから逃げてたら永遠に何も学べない。
That's something I gotta learn to take into consideration. Is I admit I was like Kenan, where it's like, what's the point of doing something if I'm gonna suck at it at first? It's just you gotta struggle through the bad, you know, being bad at something. You can't be good at something right off the bat, but it is like it can be discouraging. Like if I'm not good at it immediately, I'm not encouraged to keep going. But yeah, something that you just gotta get over.
何にも至れない。
そうさ、だからこそ人は上達を実感して面白くなるんじゃねえかよ。私だって最初はさ、右手と左手が別々に動くってだけでもう全然ダメだったぜ。でも少しずつコツが分かってくるとさ、だんだん当たり前になってきて。
僕もその境地に至りたいです。
It's still weird seeing Kenan like this, smiling, just more natural, more casual.
そのための道の一つにお嬢様との音楽活動があるならぜひご一緒させてください。
I mean, we're probably not going to get this at any point because I mean the characters are going to start dying. But I would love to have a little CG of them playing music together.
本当に？
はい、きっと最初は不出来でお嬢様を失望させてしまうこともあるでしょう。でも本気でやっての失敗だったらそれは清々しいものに違いないとさっきお嬢様たちに教わりましたから。
照れるぜ。
This is going to be so much sadder once the characters start dying. Is like they're finally starting to open up to each other.
お嬢様のことを
Aww.
もっと好きになりました。
Badler really is making this a game board of love. Like they're really focusing on the love aspect.
あなたは太陽のような人なのに僕が目を背けていたからこんなにもずっと近くにいたのにそれに気づけなかった。
じゃあもっと好きになってもらえるように頑張っちゃうぜ。いや
Kenan's serious and competitive words were more than enough to make Jessica shy. However, Kenan's expression unexpectedly clouded.
僕がお嬢様を好きになれる理由はこんなにもはっきりしています。 だからわからなくて辛いです。
何が？
What's this? It's gonna get serious right now. What's up?
お嬢様が僕を好きになる理由です。お嬢様と違い、僕は何も照らしてない。今だってお嬢様に照らされながらその背中についていってるだけです。そんなみすぼらしい僕をお嬢様が好きになる理由が何？
Oops, sorry, Kenna. Didn't mean to cut you
そん
off.
なことはないぜ。カノン君にだっていいところはいっぱいある。
恥を忍んでお聞きします。
Yeah, like I have to agree with Kenan. Like he's not exactly. Maybe it's just the fact he's mysterious that and the familiarity of like just him being there all the time. What's the thing where it's like if you're with someone long enough, you can develop feelings just because they're there. So maybe it was like the mysterious aspect, maybe the forbidden aspect of the fact that he's a servant, the fact that he's the only boy around her age that she hangs out with on a regular basis, though she apparently does have a lot of guy friends as well. But yeah, like Kenan's usually in a sour mood. I'm just like, yeah, what would draw her to him?
お嬢様は僕の何が気に入られたのですか？
It'd be kind of embarrassing if she's just like, I don't know, actually. Kanan hung his head. He had never learned anything, so he had never been able to take the lead with her. It made him sad and frustrated that he had always been the one-sided recipient of her affection, and could do nothing but respond to it. Jessica was lost for words. After all, compared to the reason that Kenan had fallen for Jessica, Jessica's reason was a lot more vague. She had listened to Shannon talk about her love with George. Oh, she was saying, like, oh, are we getting into the dark aspect of it, like with George, where we learned it's kind of not great beginnings of love? So was it her just because, like, she was jealous of Shannon's relationship with George and she just wanted a relationship and Kenan was just kind of there? At school, she and her friends always talked about relationships with boys. Maybe it was, maybe like subconsciously, like she has a power dynamic over him where she's like the master of the house, sort of, you know, whereas he's the servant, so he would be more likely to say yes. I don't feel like Jessica's reasoning is, like, it doesn't ick me out like George does. I think the age is a big aspect of it, but there was nothing strange about a girl fascinated by the idea of romance developing an interest in a nearby member of the opposite sex. However, if she were to put that into words, she'd be misinterpreted as saying that any nearby boy would have done just as well. That's what I'm getting from this. However, if nothing else, she knew what she felt at that moment. She really did love Kenan, and she truly wanted a relationship with him. They might end up together as a result, or they might not. But whatever the outcome, she could accept it as long as she held nothing back. That allowed her to stay true to her feelings, which she knew she felt right now, and act on them seriously. However, she couldn't find the right words to tell Kenan this. When Kenan saw Jessica bite her lower lip in frustration, he finally realized, oh no.
バカだな、僕は。僕のどこが気に入ったんですかなんて質問、本当にバカらしいと思ったんです。自分に本気じゃないから自分のことさえ理解できてない証拠なんだ。そんなことをお嬢様に言わせようとするなんて僕は最低だ。
そんなことないよ。女の子だって男子に告白されたら最初に聞いてみたい質問だもん。自分のどこを気に入ってくれたのって。
それを相手に尋ねる時点でそんな未熟者に気に入ってもらえるようなものがあるわけがない。
いや、そうじゃなくてその。
Jessica panicked, trying desperately to explain how she felt. However, Kenan was calm, and then he spoke.
だから僕がお嬢様を好きになるようにお嬢様にも僕を好きになってほしい。そのために僕は自分を変えていくことにします。
Well, look at that. Some other people might be kind of insulted if they couldn't get an answer out of somebody, but he's taking that to heart and be like, all right, I'll just take this as an opportunity for improving myself.
今はまだこんな自分をお嬢様に好きになってもらえるとは到底思えません。 でもいつか必ず。
ああ、絶対素敵なカノン君になれるよ。私がベタベタに惚れちゃうくらいの素敵な男の子になれる。私はそれまでずっと一緒にいるから。時間なんて
Oh
い
boy.
くらでもある。
Oh boy, there's the death flag right there.
ただ時間が
Yeah.
そうないのが悔やまれます。
Because Kanan and Shannon, they have memories of what has happened in past games, so they must know what's coming. So maybe that's all the more reason they push themselves, is like they want to get their feelings out before they know people are going to start dying.
時間って？
家具の話をするとお嬢様が悲しまれます。でも話さなければなりません。そしてそれは僕が本気で戦わなければならないことでもあるのです。
何の話？家具だから恋ができないとか、そういう話ならもう聞きたくないよ。カノン君は家具なんかじゃない。人間。
はい、だから人間になろうと思います。ですがまだ家具なんです。
ならなろうよ、人間に。
かつて魔女は教えてくれました。この世の一なる元素、
Love.
それは愛だと。それはこの世に住まう人間は当たり前のように享受できるものです。しかし家具として生み出されたこの世ならざる身には当たり前ではないのです。その当たり前でないものを得るには魔法か奇跡が必要なんです。
In the same way that Nissan and George-sama would never have ended up as they have without borrowing the power of that golden butterfly brooch.
さっきからこれがわからないの。
何がわからぬというか聞かせよ。
今回のゲームが始まり、短くない時間がシャノンやカノンの恋への決意に割かれてきたわ。
So this is like a big aspect of what's going on here.
それ自体は自らを家具と蔑んできた少年少女の青春の決意と成長の物語と好意的に見てもいい。でも二人のある前提にさっきから強い違和感を覚えるの。
なぜ魔法が必要なのかであるか？
シャノンもカノンも、いえ、あえて家具と呼ぶわ。家具たちは最初から一貫して人間とは恋愛ができないと主張してきた。そこに黄金蝶のブローチという魔法が介在し、その魔法という奇跡の結果、ジョージお兄ちゃんとの恋愛が成立した。そう主張してるわ。
身分の違いによる許されぬ恋が実るには、魔法の奇跡でもないことにはありえぬと、そう考えたとしても無理はあるまい。
そうね。だから使用人の身分であるシャノンとカノンが共に後宮家の人間に恋をし、許されざる恋に苦悩して自らを家具と卑下したとしても、それは納得できるの。
ではそなたの納得できない点とは？
再び魔法の力がなければ結婚はできない。それがシャノンとカノンの二人の共通認識になってる。これがどうしてもよく理解できないの。
After meeting in secret for quite some time, George and Shannon had finally gotten engaged. Both were fully prepared for it emotionally, and though there would be some trouble with the relatives, it had gotten to the point where it would probably be impossible for anyone to prevent their marriage.
結ばれようとする二人の間に立つなぞ。飛ぶ矢の前に立ちてそれを掴もうとするにも等しい愚行よ。
そういうこと、伴侶を生涯守りきると誓ったジョージお兄ちゃんにとって、両親の反対や感動さえ恐れるものではない。むしろそれらさえも彼女への愛を示すちょうどいい試練だとさえ思っているわ。つまり二人は必ず結婚する。 誰も拒めない。そして二人は婚約を快諾した。
誰にも拒めない、阻めない、馬に蹴られてなんとやらであるな。
そう。だから不思議なの。魔法なんて必要ない。
If George and Shannon had wanted Ava's approval for their engagement, then magic really might have been necessary. After all, Ava had forbidden his relationship with her. No matter how much George spoke on Shannon's behalf, the chances of Ava being convinced were virtually zero. If that were the case, it would be understandable if they wanted a magical miracle to make Ava acknowledge their engagement.
しかし、ジョージお兄ちゃんはきっぱりと誓ってるわ。両親に婚約を認められなくても構わないと。そう。二人の婚約を阻む理由は何も存在しないの。そしてそれはシャノンだってよく知ってるはず。なのになぜ彼女はこの順風満帆の婚約を受けたこの夜に、なおも魔法の奇跡を祈るの？
Okay.
魔法の奇跡を得なければ結ばれる資格もないというのが家具たちの主張であるな。
つまりこういうこと。シャノンはジョージの婚約を受けているけど、
So by accepting the proposal, then she already sees herself as human, right? Because furniture would never be able to accept a proposal from a human.
魔法の奇跡がなければ成就されない障害が残っていると知っていることになる。そしてその障害は二人の努力では取り除けないとも。だから魔法という奇跡が必要。どうして魔法がいるの？愛し合う二人に結ばれるための他にどんな奇跡が必要だっていうの？
なるほど。
Featherin listened to Angie's interpretation, smiling in a satisfied way. Apparently, she had already reached that conclusion, and was enjoying watching Angie finally manage to do the same.
そしてその疑問はカノンにも向けられるわ。ジェシカお姉ちゃんとの恋路は始まったばかりだけど、二人の気持ちはまっすぐ。何の障害もないわ。黄金蝶のブローチの力なんか関係なく、もう恋仲に慣れてる。何年もの交際を経て、やがては結婚に行き着いても何もおかしくない。こっちも障害は何も存在しないのよ。
Is the miracle like being able to survive this night? Like if Shannon and Kenan, if they have memories of the previous game boards, knowing that all the stuff that ends up happening, is that the miracle being like to actually be able to get to the point where they can get married and can have a long life together? Because it was when Jessica said, like, we have all the time in the world, and that's when Kenan was like, wait a minute, there's something I need to tell you.
クラウスと夏日に結婚を認めさせようと思わない限り、こちらもまた魔法の奇跡は必要なさそうであるな。
そういうこと。シャノンの生き方を見て、カノンもまた生き方を変えた。そして素直な気持ちを伝え、ジェシカお姉ちゃんと二人で恋路を歩み始めた。必要ないのよ、もはや魔法は。片思いの相手になら恋のおまじないも必要かもしれない。でももはや両者は相思相愛、意思も疎通できてる。なのにどうしてその上魔法の奇跡が必要なの？
Both pieces of furniture are in relationships of mutual love. There shouldn't be any need for a miracle any longer. So why do they still desire a miracle of magic? And on top of that, the single brooch is portrayed as bestowing only a single miracle. It feels almost as though Shannon is hesitating because if she uses up that miracle herself, Kenan's chances at love will be automatically sealed away for eternity. Okay, so we're getting back into the fact they can only be one. Only one of them can have the love.
つまりこういうことよ。どうして家具は恋をしてはいけないの？
魔法という奇跡なくしてはなぜ恋が許されぬことになっているのかか。
It doesn't seem to be a situation with the furniture and love. It seems to be more a situation with Shannon and Canon can't both have their relationship.
そして堅くなに恋ができないと嘆いていた家具たちにそれを許すことのできる黄金蝶のブローチって一体何だっていうの？ もちろん魔法の結晶であるぞ。ただし多くの魔法と同様に半魔法の毒素で焼かれもする。
つまり魔女や魔法を信じる者にしか効果がないということなんですね。
その通りだ。よってわらわと交流することができたシャノンにはその効果を発揮した。しかしもしシャノンがそのブローチを砂浜に落とし何も知らぬ者が拾ったとしたら、
その者が半魔法の毒をまとっていたらブローチの魔法は力を発揮できない。
そういうことだ。魔女のアイテムは直接の手渡しでなければ力を失うことが多いということだ。しかし魔女の存在を大勢の人間が認めることで半魔法の毒素がなくなり権限することができるのと同じに、大勢の人間がそのアイテムの魔力を信じれば逆に魔力を維持することもある。
皮肉な話ですね。私たち魔女がどんな魔法を授けてもそれを受け取れるかどうかは全て人間次第なんですね。
薬もそうだと聞いているぞ。同じ薬を飲んでもその効果を知らされている人間にはより大きい効果が出るという。
あ、ちょっとわかります。
So they're saying basically like a witch's magic is a placebo effect?
風邪薬とか飲んだ時、薬効の解説書とか読んでると薬の効きがいいような気がしますよね。
As she listened, Beato thought that magic sounded a bit like a charm. When most humans think of magic, they think of incredible miracles being performed one after another in front of a crowd. However, this true magic that the older sister spoke of sounded almost like a charm, something that had no effect if the person using it didn't believe. Shannon's heart was captured by George bit by bit as he grew by leaps and bounds. However, she had given up, thinking that one of the lower status, such as herself, would never find love with him. That was when Beatrice had given her the golden butterfly brooch and encouraged her. So the butterfly brooch is a placebo effect, being like, with this, you will be able to find love. It's like she was able to have it the whole time, but she just needed that little bit of push of something to give her the belief that she would be able to find love. Then once again, going back into magic is, to me, magic is just belief. Giving up means you have zero chance of success. And then Canon going on about how, like, it seems like it's all just about self-improvement. You just have to believe in yourself. And maybe using magic as a bit of a crutch to push you. Where Ken's like, he needs to learn to improve himself. And Shannon had to learn to believe in herself as well. But if with the power of magic, you think there just might be some chance of your wish coming true, the probability then rises to something greater than zero at the very least. Zero remains zero forever, but if even a faint probability were to exist, it would be no exaggeration to say that an impossible miracle had occurred, compared to the time when the probability was zero. Humans can use magic to take resignation by which they themselves make the probability of success zero and cancel it out. So now we're getting to the heart of, like, what is magic? I think this is it. When a human does not give up, though their chances of success may be small, those chances do exist. And the stronger their belief, the more those odds rise. It was easy to imagine that Shannon had made earnest wishes upon that brooch, believed in its magic, and made many little efforts to get George to like her.
信じる力が魔法になる。
You just have to look past all the flowery talk about witches and stuff. They've really been, like, drilling back into the magic aspect after kind of going away from it for a bit. But you just kind of need to look past all that stuff and be like, okay, but what is it really? And I think this is what it is. It's like whatever little thing we need to tell ourselves to try and make ourselves improve our lives. Is that really such a bad thing?
そしてそれを信じさせる者が魔女だ。
Those who make others believe are witches. That's an interesting way to put it. If you think about it, it's true. Let's say a witch steps out into a spotlight, waves her staff in front of a crowd of onlookers, and makes a rabbit appear out of thin air. The many people who see it will surely think it was a sleight of hand. They might wonder at how it was accomplished, but they would be sure it wasn't magic, and they would applaud the splendid trick that it appeared to be magic. But what if? What if they conducted a sacred ceremony inside a great ancient temple in front of a crowd of believers, culminating in the exact same thing? Would any of the people there think it was a sleight of hand? In fact, in the ancient past, when magic tricks as a form of entertainment didn't even exist and divine spirits were worshipped, this would doubtlessly have been a miracle of magic.
ならこれは魔法になるでしょうか。ほう、魔法の使いの魔女のそなたが初めて振るう魔法とはどんなものか。ここに空の紅茶のカップがあります。中身は空です。うん、空っぽであるぞ。それからこれをこうしてテーブルの上に伏せておきます。それからはい、一緒に目を閉じて魔法の呪文を唱えます。
It was the same magic that had been used to give Maria candies. Beato the Elder grinned and closed her eyes. When she saw this, Beato slowly chanted the incantation.
さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。カップの中に何が入っていたのか。うん。さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。カップの中に何が入っていたのか。
As she chanted, Beato slowly opened her eyes and made sure the older sister was repeating her with her eyes closed. Then a single gold butterfly appeared of nowhere, fluttered down onto the overturned cup, and scattered away in a spray of gold.
もうよいか？目を開けても。はい、目を開けてカップの中身を改めてください。さてさて、そなたが初めて使う魔法はいかほどのものか。
Taking her time and dragging out the suspense a little, the older sister lifted up the cup.
おや？いかがでしょうか。
When the cup was lifted up, there lay a single golden rose petal.
これは魔法になるでしょうか。うん、なるとも。そなたが魔法にて、
all right.
伏せたカップの中に黄金の花びらを生み出した。
The golden truth.
見事な魔法であったぞ。愛がなければ見えない。それは理解できてるの。
これを手品だと断じるもよし、魔法だと信じるもよし、そのものの毒素次第であろうな。
でもこれはかつての魔法の一部を説明はできるけど、全てを説明することはできないわ。話を戻すけれど、この程度の魔法やおまじないを信じるという程度の話では、堅くなに恋ができないと嘆いていた家具たちに、それを許すことのできる黄金蝶のブローチとは一体何かという問いに答えられない。
そこにいる二人のベアとの話を鵜呑みにするなら、魔法には彼らの諦めを取り除く力があると考えるのが妥当であろう。
どうして家具は恋をしてはいけないの？どうして魔法のブローチの力が必要なの？確かにあんたやベアトたちの話は一見、それにおぼろげとはいえ答えを与えているような気がする。でも朗読者だから言わせて、それでは納得がいかないの。
納得とは？
家具たちはもっともっと悲壮な宿命に抗おうとしているわ。恋愛成就のお守りを託されたくらいで自己改革ができる程度のものだったとは思えないの。現にシャノンはかつてジョージお兄ちゃんとの出会いのきっかけを作ったのはブローチのおかげだけど、それ以降は魔法の力を借りずに関係を深めたいと言ってベアトにブローチを返そうとさえしたわ。彼女はその時点で一度は魔法の奇跡と決別したはず。
なのになぜ再びその力を必要としているの？さて、恋と結婚は別物としか言いようがないであろうな。
Featherin laughed lightly. She had probably formed a theory of her own and was laughing at Angie, who hadn't reached it yet.
聞かせてよ、あんたの見解。もう少し寝かせたい。
Of course you do.
それに疑問を持ち思考を巡らすそなたを見ることもまた朗読の楽しみだ。
I feel like you guys, you all who have read this and who know the answers, you're Featherin, I'm Angie, I'm struggling to play catch up, and you're just enjoying watching my brain, the hamster in the wheel turn as I try and come up with theories and stuff.
私の見解を話せばそなたはそれに納得し思考を止める。それでは朗読が面白くない。すでに答えを知ってる推理小説を読ませて
This
右往左往するところを見て
this is such a call
楽しん
out.
でるってわけね。
This is such a call out to the reader.
それが感激の魔女というものだ。悪趣味と
Well,
笑いたくば
you
笑
guys were
うがよ
saying like Featherin is
我が
basically
猫よ。
a stand-in for the creator of the story of of this game, and he's just and like Angie is us, the reader, right? We're literally called the reader. She's called the reader, so it's like it's a little on the nose, but it's fun.
わははは。
I understand that a part of magic is created by a believing heart, and that magic probably permeates deep into the world of us humans as well. However, though it does permeate so far, the power that dwells within magic is small. Visiting a shrine before an important exam to pray you'll pass is something that many people do. However, not many people will actually credit that visit as the reason for their success. Praying like this contains no power except as a calming influence. In love, where even a small chance and a little bit of courage can cause a major change, this power might cause a massive upheaval. However, would the insurmountable fate that those pieces of furniture claim to be in the middle of really change because of something like that? I think that in the past, the magical power of the brooch, as it joined Shannon and George, was little more than a good luck charm. However, at this point, the magical power that the pieces of furniture are seeking from the brooch, praying for their love to succeed, it's not something as vague as a charm. It feels much stronger, like a whole different interpretation of magic. If you believe in a sleight of hand, it becomes magic. But that's no more than a child's trick. And that only explains one part of magic. They are hoping for something. They're hoping for something with much, much more power. For true magic, not a sleight of hand.
家具たちは黄金蝶のブローチにどんな魔法を期待しているというの？
黄金蝶のブローチ？
黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェが霊境を割るのと引き換えにシャノンに与えた恋を成就させる魔法のお守り。これがそれです。
From his pocket, Kanan pulled out a wing of a gold butterfly. Though it was just a single wing, it was easy to tell from its distinctive shape that it had originally been part of something with a butterfly motif.
このブローチの魔法はシャノンにジョージ様と恋仲になる機会を与えました。しかしそれを最後まで成就する前に僕に譲りました。だから僕はこのブローチの力でお嬢様の好意を得ました。
そんなわけないよ。私がカノン君を好きになったのは自分の素直な気持ちだぜ。
ありがとうございます。お嬢様は人間だから魔女も魔法も信じない。無理もないことです。
It's so sad that Kanan only believes that that Jessica has feelings for him because of magic, not because she honestly feels that way. Although, if she can't tell him why she specifically, developed feelings for him, it is kind of tough for him, I imagine, to assume it's anything but magic.
しかし、魔法で生み出された家具の僕がここに存在すること自体が魔法の奇跡の存在する証拠なのです。
ごめん。 何の話？
Jessica tried her hardest to grasp what Kenneth was trying to say. However, she couldn't understand it and had to ask him to repeat it with a bitter smile.
僕もシャノンも恋を成就させるには魔法が必要なのです。そのための鍵がこのブローチ。僕が踏んで割ったので僕たちは一つずつ持ち合っています。
The brooch had lost its power when it was split in half. However, if it were ever joined together again, its magic would be revived. It would revive the miraculous power that could join furniture and a human together.
しかし
Yeah, that's why.
ブローチは
I'm guessing that's
一
why
人の願いしか叶えない。
they're saying only one of them can succeed in love. I was wondering, I was like, why can only one of them succeed? But at least in their opinion, if they're believing in this brooch, if there's only one person can win.
家具の僕たちはこの一つのブローチによってどちらかしか結ばれ得ないのです。
It was the single spark of love that the old Beatrice, with her shrill laugh, had sown on a day long ago. That Beatrice had likened humans who were tormented by this spark to ripe fruit and taken evil pleasure in their suffering. However, the magic infused within this spark was real. It was the only crystallization of magic that the Golden Witch Beatrice ever left in this world. Its shine grew brighter.
何？
大丈夫です。でも直接は見ないで目をやられます。
It grew more brilliant still, shining like the sun. Jessica didn't need Kennen to tell her to put her eyes over her hands. She's closing her eyes, a magic trick's about to happen, right? As the light grew stronger, a sound like the roaring of the wind or the tide also grew in intensity. It already drowned out the sound of the wind and rain outside. Jessica could no longer even stand, and she crouched on the floor. It was a flood of sound and light. And until it withdrew, Jessica could do nothing but moan. Okay, that was... What am I supposed to glean from that? What am I supposed to get from that moment? Ah.
Sa, 今は大丈夫ですよ。急ぎましょう。
お父様が甘いものをお好きだといいのですが。
I think he'd like it if he stopped calling him father.
お好きですもの。甘いものに限らず、何でもよくお召し上がりになりますよ。
After waiting for the master of the study to be out, Beato and Kumasawa entered the study. Then they quickly tidied away the books on the desk, set down the basket they had brought there, and began spreading out the contents. Inside were several cute cookies cut out into a butterfly shape. They set out a cute plate and neatly decorated it with the cookies. It was the kind of slight adornment that the person eating wasn't likely to even notice. The whole setup was filled with that sort of thing.
愛しのお父様とやらのために精が出るな。
今の私に許されていることはこんなことくらいですので。
わらわがバトラにクッキーをか。なぜに夜の支配者であるわらわが稀な客人であるバトラにそこまで尽くすのかわからぬ。
Oh, he's not going to be happy. He's going to probably throw it all off the table. Then the study door opened violently. It was Badler, with Genji by his side. Badler's eyes went wide for a second when he saw Beato there, but his expression quickly went blank again.
ここで何をしている？
お父様、失礼しました。決して大切なゲームの邪魔に来たわけでは。
どうしてここに入れた？ここには鍵がかかっていたはず。
申し訳ございません。親方様に内密で差し入れをお届けしたいとのことで。
ほら、見てあげてくださいませ。親方様に喜んでもらおうと、ベアトリーチェ様が一生懸命クッキーを焼いたんですよ。
He's not gonna like it specifically because the old Beatrice would never do something like that.
熊沢さんと源氏さんに習いました。源氏さんがクッキーを焼くのがお上手だったなんて、とても驚きました。
最近は全然ですけど、昔の源氏さんはそれはもういろいろなお料理を作ってくれたんですよ。特にお菓子作りはお上手で。
クッキー？
はい、お父様への差し入れです。大切なゲームの必勝を心よりお祈りいたしております。
Badler looked at the plate on the study desk that was piled up with beautiful cookies, and the message card of encouragement lying next to it, and his face twisted with a complex expression, which might have had traces of both sadness and anger contained within it.
親方様。
In not so many words, Genji prompted him to consider giving Beato's efforts some kind of acknowledgement. Badler understood. He had no reason to respond to this kindness with displeasure. However, even though he understood that logically, all he could do was give a small, exasperated sigh.
ありがとう。感謝する。
You can definitely see Badler is like becoming more and more like Kinzo, having Genji follow him around, wearing the cape, freaking out, getting more like angry, which is just like even more the whole thing with Beato calling him father is just like, oh, there's got to be, yeah, it's like I'm assuming there's that connection with Kinzo.
だが甘いものは苦手だ。下げてくれ。
親方様。
同じことをもう一度言わせるな。片付けて下がってくれ。
親方様、せめて一口お口に運ばれるわけには参りませんか。ベアトリーチェ様が親方様のためを思いこしらえたものでございます。
気持ちはありがたく受け取っておく。今は大切なゲームの最中だ。俺にとってもベアトにとっても大切な最後のゲームなんだ。だから頼む。俺の心をかき乱すような真似は慎んでくれ。
Man, I'm kind of bummed out. I was thinking like Badler as a game master, he was going to be fun, energetic, and now it's just like I understand why, you know, this Beatrice showing up is like throwing him off, but it's just like it's such a dour, sad game.
それはあまりにもひどうございます。気持ちは感謝する。大いに結構でございます。しかしそれをせめて一口お召しになる形ではお示しできませんか。
お父様。
Beato looked at Badler sadly. Badler hung his head to avoid her gaze. The expression on his face was more pained than any he had shown Beato before.
熊沢、それを片付け下がるように。
親方様。
Kumasawa implored Badler to listen, but he turned his back to her.
失礼しました。片付けましょう。
ああ。
そういうわけには参りません。大切なゲームに少しでも力添えしたいベアトリーチェ様がせめてこのような形でもお力になりたいと頑張られた差し入れでございます。
I wonder if Kumasawa ever stood up to Kinzo like this.
それを一口さえせずに下げろとは女をバカにするにも程がございます。
熊沢。
親方様も男ならば女の手作りの差し入れにせめてどうか一口で結構でございますのでお手をつけてくださいまし。女の気持ちを踏みにじろうというおつもりでしたらこの熊沢殺されたってここは引きませんよ。引きません。
Aw, she's got Mama Bear.
結構ですから。
そういうわけには参りません。親方様、これに毒でも入っているとお思いですか？
Battler's like, I kind of wish there were, because that's like something that the old Beato would do. Yeah, if Beato ever came to give me cookies, of course I'd think she put some kind of crazy poison in them. She asked me if I thought there'd be poison in these. How could anyone ever think that cookies like these, piled up in such a neat and cute way, could possibly have something bizarre hidden inside? Is this a callback to Higurashi with the needle? And who could possibly believe that Beato would make something like this? Because of that, Badler couldn't bear to look at Beato's innocent reaction, which was completely free from any malicious thoughts of slipping poison into the cookies. Beato quietly started to clean up. Every now and then, she sniffled. Aww. Kumasawa had been glaring at Badler continuously, but she now gave a small sigh and helped Beato clean up. However, the hardness didn't disappear from her expression.
失礼しました。お父様。それでは失礼いたします。
呼ぶな。俺をお父様と呼ぶな。ベアトは俺をそんな呼び方をしたことは一度。
はい。失礼いたしました。
Hanging her head so low that her chin touched her chest, Beato hurried out of the study. After giving Badler a look, Kumasawa chased after her. She shut the door a bit violently, and the footsteps of the pair rapidly disappeared off into the distance.
「実の妹が言うのもなんだけど複雑な気持ちだわ。
相手がベアトでさえなければ素直に女の敵と言えるのにか。
私はお兄ちゃんとベアトがどうして慣れ合ってるのかさっぱりわからない。今思ってベアトは倒すべき私たちの最大の敵だと思ってる。でもだからといってあのお兄ちゃんの対応は女として愉快じゃないわ。
バトラの気持ちも少しはわかるがな。悲しいことだ。
I still don't understand what kind of bad blood or connection there was between them. However, Oni-chan probably views Beato as a friendly adversary, if not something more. Oni-chan's reason for defeating Beato isn't to destroy an enemy out of hatred. It feels like he wants to give a sincere answer to her questions. Yes, I can't deny the fact their fight isn't based on hatred, but on a stronger emotion. What stronger emotion is there than love, right? Love and hatred are like the two opposite ends of the strong emotions.
さらに言えばあそこまで冷たくされてそれでもなおお兄ちゃんに尽くそうとするベアトも大したもんだわ。もう一人の姉のベアトと私も同意見よ。どうしてお兄ちゃんにあそこまで尽くすのか理解できないわ。
そしてその理解できぬ要素は1000年を経て変化を遂げるとはいえ紛れもなく我々の知る黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェに受け継がれるものである。
ええ、理解しているわ。このベアトを知ることもまたやがてのベアトを知ることにつながる。そしてそれはこのおかしなゲームで最大の大駒とあるいはこのゲーム版そのものを説明するかもしれない。
謎多き魔女であるな。
Though she said those words, Featherin wore a confident smile on her face. Her sarcastic confidence, as though she already knew the answer, was unchanged.
ベアトリーチェ、話を聞きたいわ。
はい。何でしょうか、エンジェさん。
Beato, who had been reading a fragment book in the shadows of the study, jumped when Angie called out to her.
あなたはなんで後ろに
Right?
はバトラを
Let's get into
お父
this.
様と呼ぶの？
I doubt we're gonna get like a clear answer, but
私という駒を生み出してくださったからです。
ではどうして後宮バトラにそこまで尽くすの？駒は生み出した造物種に絶対服従しなくてはならないルールでもあるの？
そんなルールはない。駒は道具、あるいはナイフだ。ゲームマスターが上手に扱えば便利な道具になる。しかし扱いを間違えれば自らを傷つけもする。道具になろうと凶器になろうと、そこに道具の意志はない。ただ結果があるだけだ。
じゃあどうしてあんたはお兄ちゃんにアームを尽くすの？まるでそれはあなたという駒の目的かのようだわ。
はい、それが
okay.
私が生み出された目的だからです。
But didn't Battler create the piece? But she's acting against what he wants.
あんたを生み出したお兄ちゃん自身
Yeah,
が
right?
その目的を与えたの？
それは違う。バトラはゲームマスターとして、そういう役目を持った駒を盤上に置いたに過ぎない。そして彼女という駒を生み出したのはこのゲームを生み出した最初のゲームマスターである、ベアトリーチェ自身だ。
ややこしい話だわ。
Agreed, Angie, agreed.
つまりあんたはお兄ちゃんのことをお父様お父様呼んでるけど別に父親ってわけじゃないのね。
That's a big hint. That's gotta be, right?
あんたはお兄ちゃんに尽くさなければならないという目的のために親しみを込めてお父様と呼んでるだけだわ。
はい、そうだと思います。私という駒を盤上に置いてくださったのがお父様です。お父様が盤上に置かなければ私という駒の出番はありません。ですから私がここにこうして存在し、そして私の目的のために尽くせるのは全てお父様のおかげなのです。
なるほど。そしてそれはお父様と呼ぶのにふさわしいってわけね。じゃあ誰があんたにお兄ちゃんに尽くすように命じたの？ああ、それは初代ゲームマスターのベアト自身よね。
Okay, so the original Beatrice was the one who has this chick, Beato, set like this.
ややこしい。
As a fellow reader, I am also confused, Angie. I feel like so in tune with her right now.
なぜにそなたは後宮バトラに尽くさねばならぬのかと尋ねたいのであろう。しかしそれを彼女に答えることはできぬ。彼女に与えられたのは目的だけだ。その目的を与えた動機は与えた本人にしかわからぬのだから。
Unfortunately, that Beatrice is gone. She was killed at the end of the last episode, or the last chapter, whatever.
なるほど。それも考えてみるがいい人の子よってわけね。で、ついでにあんたにはもうその察しがついていて、ニヤニヤしながら私が悩んでいるのを見ているってわけだわ。
That's all of you guys watching this with me right now. I am Angie. You guys are Featherin, just laughing at my confusion. I can't figure this out.
そなたは我が巫女としてつくづく優秀だ。
私はお父様に尽くします。私の存在がお父様の幸福のお役に立てる。それが私の一番の喜びです。そして
At that point, Beato hesitated.
何？そして何を？
はい。そしてそれをいつかお父様にお認めいただければ、それが私の一番の幸せなのです。
何よそれ。尽くしたいってだけならまさに魔女の家具ねと言いたいところだけど、 それを認めてもらいたい？それじゃ家具ってより。
Angie stopped mid-sentence. It's less like furniture and more like you're just a girl who loves Oni-chan. Now, are we talking romantic or are we talking like a fatherly, daughter relationship? Because if it's a romantic relationship and she's calling him father, there's like a whole other ick factor to that. I don't get it. The guiding force between this Beito's actions is that of a girl who adores Oni-chan. But then, what would that make her? If she liked Oni-chan, then she should have adored him and done things for him herself. Why would she create a piece of herself, a spare entity to do it? Maybe it's whoever the person is who's taking the role of Beatrice. This is the her before she was corrupted by something, something happens. It's like this is the piece of her that still loves him, and then there's like the part that felt betrayed and hurt by him. I don't know what's going on. This way, even if she does attract Oni-chan's attention, it will be towards the piece version of herself, not the creator who made that piece. If I ever fall in love with someone, I'll probably want to do things for them. But of course, I would want to do those things myself. After all, I would want him to notice me. This love is destined to go virtually unrewarded. No matter how devoted she is, she'll never get anything out of it. And she's done this of her own free will. Beito's behavior looks no different from that of an average girl in love. She's devotedly doing all she can for him, dreaming her kindness will eventually be acknowledged. Why would Beito create a piece like this? Is putting it in terms of romance a bit too confusing? Then let's try using food as an example. It's funny that they go to food analogies a lot in this game, don't they? It's as pointless as creating a piece to eat food for you. No matter how much food your piece eats on your behalf, you won't get any less hungry, right? You're the one who wants to eat. There's no reason for having a piece do that in your place. For most jobs in the world, you can get someone else to do it for you. However, with love and food alone, there can never be any meaning in letting another person do it in your place. That's right. This Beito was created as a piece for an impossible reason. Though at a glance, she looks just like a normal girl, the more I learn about her, the less I understand, like an imaginary number.
お父様はそう呼ばれるのを嫌われていました。そしてお父様の望まれる私もそうは呼んでいませんでした。
そうね。かつてのあんたは誰が相手でも呼び捨てにしてたわ。
だからといってお父様を呼び捨てにはできません。せめてバトラさんと呼ぶように努力はしたいと思います。
あんなに冷たくされてよくめげないものね。
いえ、バトラさんは今大切なゲームに臨まれています。相手は大ベルンカステル教の駒、強敵エリカ教です。いよいよゲームが佳境に差し掛かろうというデリケートなところに私がしゃしゃり出て、バトラさんが望まないお父様という言葉をかけてしまったのですから、機嫌を崩されても無理ないことです。
Apparently, Beito still wanted to devote herself to Badler, even after being treated in such a cold manner. Though to an outsider, it just looks as though she's being snubbed. It doesn't faze her at all. It truly is the blindness of a girl in love.
それとも私に愛が
Without love, it cannot be seen, right?
愛があれば見えぬものが見えることもあろうな。
Beato once again immersed herself in the fragment book that told of her former self. She was trying to find something about the Beato that Badler desired. Angie shrugged, as though saying, "Well, I don't get it." Featherin laughed when she saw this and quipped that an innocent young woman could never understand. Angie grumbled something back unhappily. Their interactions seemed to have no effect whatsoever on Beato as she sat in the shadows of the library. After chasing all the others out, only Badler remained in the study. There was no color in this dimly lit room. However, for just the short time that the plate of cookies had been placed there, the room had seemed just a little cheery. Battler's gaze drifted over to the desk, which no longer had anything on it. When he did, the cookie plate that had been there until a second ago was revived. However, it was an illusion. Though the cookies could be looked at, they could not be touched, much less eaten. Battler wished he could make it possible to touch them or eat them, but it would be an empty sensation. It would only give the touch and taste that Battler desired. He no longer had any way of knowing what kind of cookies they had actually been. In a reception sofa facing Battler, a cloud of gold butterflies slowly gathered and took the form of the old Beato.
ほーら食べろよ。わらわが珍しく手作りしたのだぞ。安心せよ。自信作であるぞ。
お嬢様の場合、むしろ自信作の方が不安になろうというものですな。
まったくだぜ。お前が作るクッキーなんて、どうせおかしな毒が入ってるに決まってら。
それは心外な。仮に入っていたとしても、そなたのあれがそうなってこうなっちゃうかもしれない程度のもんではないか。
そういうことばかり普段からしているからバトラ君に食べてもらえないのです。
手料理に何か入れるなんて基本でしょ。爪に髪の毛、魔法のおまじないに愛のかけら。あんたたちだったら何を入れるの？
何も入れません。美味しく自分でいただいちゃいます。
だと思ったわ。あんたは出落ちなのよ、まったく。
でも女は3つの袋をつかめって言うし、胃袋は最初の第一歩よね。次がお財布の袋で、3つ目は何かしら。男を振り向かせるなら、身も心も魂さえも全てを私のために捧げさせたい。だからこそ私は手料理に全ての力と愛情を注ぎ込めるの。
いずれにせよ手料理を食べさせるのは古今不変の正攻法と言えるだろうな。
バカバカしい。そんな小細工をしないと男心一つつかめないなんて情けないったらありゃしないわ。へえ、お姉様が男心をどの程度おつかみになった経験がおありか聞いてみたいものですけど。
バートラー、何もおかしなもんは入ってないから食ってくれよ。わらわがそなたのためにクッキーを手作りするなんて二度とねえからさ。
There probably won't be another chance. I slowly stretched out my hand, out to the illusion of the cookie plate, and touched it. Just before I did, it became a cloud of gold butterflies and vanished into the darkness of the study. The illusions of Ronave and Vergelia also disappeared. However, the illusion of Beato alone still remained on the sofa.
何が不満か？
それを俺に言わせるつもりか。
新しきわらわがそなたの望んだ姿とあまりに違えば違うほどわらわが二度とよみがえらぬ存在であることを思い知らされるからであろう。いい女は逃したら二度と捕まらぬわ。今頃になってわらわがいい女だったと気づいたであろうが。
Aw.
うるせえ。お前なんか二度と現れなくてせいせいすら。
Beato lay sprawled on the sofa and looked up at the ceiling. Badler also turned his back and moved to the window. For a while, there was silence.
分かっていると思うが、
分かってな。
そなたの期待するわらわはすでに消え
分かってる。あのベアとは紛れもないお前自身ではあっても、かつてお前はもう絶対に蘇らない。
た。わらわの魂とこの女らしさ、性格の良さ、気風の良さは魔女としての1000年によって培われたものだ。それは全く同じ1000年を経ぬ限りわらわと同じにはなり得ぬ。すなわちそなたがわらわを生み出そうと目論む時点ですでに生い立ちが異なるのだ。
ああ、お前が絶対に蘇らないなんて。
Aw, what a sad look on his face.
あのショーワル・ベルンカステルにバッチリ報奨されてるぜ。
だが期待しているのであろう。新しきわらわがある非豆腐の角にでもコツンと頭をぶつけ、過去の記憶を取り戻して見事復活みたいなのを期待しているのであろう。そんな妄想プロット今時ラノベだって通用せぬわ。
うるせえ。お前だってかつて俺が思い出して気づくのをずっと待ってやがったじゃねえかよ。
Aw. Well, that was what the chick Beato said too, right? She said she wanted father to acknowledge her, just like this Beato wanted him to acknowledge her. Then what? Does this mean our relationship now is exactly the opposite of how it once was?
わらわもそなたがいつかはきっと気づく、思い出す、奇跡が起こる。そう信じてゲームを繰り返したこともあったがな。
どういう気持ちだったんだよ、お前が俺とゲームをしている時は。
自分の胸に聞けとはよく言ったものよ。
It's tough. If only she didn't look so much like you, I wouldn't be so confused about how to feel about her.
まあ好きにせよ。かつてわらわはそなたを苛みもて遊んだ。今度はそなたがそれをわらわに復讐する番だ。新しきわらわは何もわからずおろおろとするのみ。煮るも焼くもそなた次第よ。積年の恨みも晴れるであろうが。
お前自身が相手ならな。さぞや気分も爽快だろうぜ。だがあのベアとはお前じゃない。
わらわでないというなら誰なのか。
お前によく似た別人だ。
だが紛れもなくわらわでもあるぞ。
そうだな、お前自身であり、そして同時に別人なんだ。
They're really digging into this whole thing about the different aspects of, like, she's me but she's not me, the two separate parts of, like, the younger Beato, the older Beato that will become the one that we know. Ah.
ならば新しきわらわも災難なものよ。わらわの身代わりに慰み者とされておるわ。なんと気の毒なことか。
That might be the contradiction inside me, because the new Beato seems like a different person. I can't accept her. Even though I know she's a different person than Beato, she keeps reminding me of her.
ならばいっそあれはわらわの娘とでも思え。
Now we're going like daughters and fathers and sisters.
わらわの血を引きし瓜二つの娘と解釈せよ。何しろわらわの分身であり、しかし千年の経験を経ぬのだからそう呼んでもおかしくはあるまい。
確かに。
わらわは死して娘を残し、そなたに託したと、そう思うのだ。さすればそなたも、あやつをどう受け止めればいいか、少しは考えやすいのではないか。
らしくもなく、うまい例えをしやがって。
茶化すでない、あやつは、わらわが死んで残し、そなたに託した忘れがたみだ。
What if this was like, what if she was actually being like, no, I'm being literal. Like, what if this is the Beatrice, like this Beatrice, this is like, this is the mother and did leave behind a daughter, and that's why she calls Badler father. I'd have to look into it to see about like the ages and stuff. But I'm like, what if she's like, no, I'm like literally, I'm telling you that like this is straight. Can we get that in red or gold, please? Can we get a confirmation on that?
わらわの面影を押し付けるも自由。恨みつらみをわらわの代わりにぶつけて、慰み者としてもよい。
That sounds really fucking dark when you put it that way.
わらわの罪を背負わせ、好きに苛めば、そなたの鬱憤も晴れようぞ。それが趣味でないというなら、わらわのように人の道を踏み外さぬよう、正しく導くのもまたいい。
So maybe that's it. It's like she's the new version of it. It's like treat her with love and don't let her turn into what I turned into because of your sin or whatever.
あやつは、そなたに尽くすように、生まれながらできておる。そなたが望めば、どのような姿にだって変えられる。千年の奇跡を経たならば、わらはそのものにさえ、なれるかもしれない。
かつてお前にされたように。
Oh no. Oh, Balor, don't think about it that way. Oh, especially because she calls you father. Ew.
そうだな。
I don't like what being a game master has done to Badler.
非道なる所業さえ可能であろうぞ。
お前の分身であり、そして娘か。
Without a doubt, she's exactly the same person, the same piece, which was created once more by the rule called Beatrice. However, when I can't accept it that way, I can interpret her as being Beato's daughter. And they did say, Featherin said that Beatrice was the one who put that piece on the board, right? This served as a clear guidepost on how to interact with her and smooth the uncertainty in my heart. And, finally, I could understand how cruel I had been to her just now. My tears poured to the ground, and when I followed them with my eyes, I noticed a white card about the size of a business card had fallen on the floor. It was the message card that adorned those cookies. I had rushed her, telling her to clean up and leave right away, which was probably why it had fallen to the floor unnoticed. I picked it up and read the message on it. It was extremely short, pure, and sincere. It brought tears to my eyes, so I was sure I could read it. And yet, my eyes were so blurred with tears that I couldn't see anything. Are they going to tell us what it says? No? Alright, so another interesting episode. It really felt like it was going into like the whole thing about Beato, who she is, what caused her to be who she is. Like a lot more of the abstract aspects of the story with Canon and Jessica, and the whole thing about furniture not being able to love and needing a miracle and all that stuff. Sweet moment with the ghost of Beatrice and Battler at the end, and that's all well and good, but the part of me is just like, I want to get back to the game. I want to see more Erica and Battler facing off against each other, and her just being just the snide character that she is. She just brings so much entertainment. Love to hate character. So hopefully we'll get some more Erica in the next episode. I want more of that. And when are these murders gonna happen? When, guys? When? I want to see how Battler takes on like the murders in his game board. I'm very interested to see that. So maybe next episode. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy this one, and stay tuned next week for part 65. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Nana, Kaori Mikoto, Revealing Storm, Tequila Mockingbird, Jared Fan, Izzy Ibo, Asborn Kennedy, Harry Gazif, Icognito, Locus Carolus, Matt Goldsmith, and Wu Sing Chrysalis.